This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, he seems to be one of these fighters, much like it was with Anthony Joshua, that it doesn't matter who it is that these fighters fight, there's always going to be a group of people saying, oh, well, he's fighting him, but he should be fighting him, he's ducking him. Okay, then he goes and fights him, yeah, but now he's going to be ducking him. They're always ducking somebody. And I understand, of course, there's a lot of pro-Canelo people, there's a lot of anti-Canelo people. For me, I'm pretty much in the middle of it, but I can recognise that Canelo Alvarez is quite literally reaching for the stars. He is reaching for greatness. That's exactly what it is that Canelo Alvarez is doing. But unfortunately, he's one man. Okay, he can't go fight everybody in one night. He can't do a Royal Rumble. He can't do a Survivor Series. He can't do that. So he can only choose one person to fight next. Now, out of the four names that's currently being mentioned, listen, at the end of the day, Canelo could go fight anybody. You never know. But listen, there are four names currently that's being mentioned with Canelo Alvarez. Jermall Charlo, David Benavidez, Dmitry Bivol, and Gennady Golovkin, Triple G. Now, out of all four of those, in my opinion, the one who deserves it the most would be Triple G. And the reason that he deserves it the most is because, firstly, he has a better resume than the rest. Secondly, he's been in there with Canelo twice before, and in my opinion, definitely won the first fight. And did he win the second fight? Again, some people will say yes. So he is at least one of the guys who is owed a Canelo Alvarez third fight. But unfortunately for Triple G, he's at the wrong end of his career. Okay? But the most dangerous one out of those four, in my opinion, is Dmitry Bivol. He's the most dangerous one out of all of them. Then probably David Benavidez, then Triple G, then Jermall Charlo. And while personally I'm okay with Canelo Alvarez fighting anybody he wants, I think he's earned it. But out of those four, I'm okay with him fighting any of those four. At some point, even though they're not fighting each other, which they should be, because we're all sitting around waiting for that golden billiard, I think that he's going to end up fighting all of them anyway at some point. Because they ain't going to fight each other, are they? They're not. But who he's going to fight next isn't really that important. Because whoever it is that he fights next, that's just one of the four that's going to get knocked off. Then the other one, then the other one, then the other one. So if he chooses to say fight Bivol next, oh, well, he's ducking Benavidez. If he fights David Benavidez next, oh, well, he's ducking Charlo. If he fights Charlo, oh, well, he's ducking Triple G. It's a constant merry-go-round. So in my opinion, I'm okay with him fighting anybody. But if we had to choose somebody who you could look at those four and say, well, maybe Canelo Alvarez is cherry-picking somebody, it's probably going to be Charlo. Charlo, out of all four of those, is probably the weak link. I'm not saying he's a weak link. I'm saying out of those four, he would be the weakest link. Stylistically, I don't think that he can pose any real danger to Canelo Alvarez whatsoever. But again, let's not forget, he's a middleweight. Much like Triple G is a middleweight. I can't see Canelo Alvarez making the middleweight limit ever again. So if he was to fight Charlo, then obviously it's probably going to be at super middleweight, you would imagine. He beats the brakes off Charlo, what happens? Well, it's because he brought him up. He was too heavy. There's going to be weight issues. These are ready-made excuses. Benavidez, if he fought him at super middleweight. Well, but Benavidez, you know what, he's been struggling at 168 for quite some time. He's really a light heavyweight. Built-in excuses. With Bivol, he fights Bivol, defeats Bivol. Some people will say, oh, well, Bivol, he wasn't that good to start with, and he's naturally a super middleweight. Which Bivol he can make super middleweight. Apparently, this is what he said before. He beats Triple G. Oh, well, Triple G's too old, and again, he brought him up to super middleweight. He's not going to get full credit from the whole boxing community, no matter which way he does it. So I do feel that Bivol is the most dangerous, then Benavidez. So if there was going to be two fights out of those four that he was going to have, I personally, as far as danger for Canelo, Dmitry Bivol and David Benavidez. I think those two are the dangerous ones out of all four of those. Triple G, listen, he's been in there with Canelo on 2 occasions already and gave a great account of himself. Whether you believe that he beat Canelo or lost to Canelo, or the draws, the first fight, the draw was correct, and however it is that you see it, Triple G is an elite fighter. He is. Charlo could well be the best. And again, let's be honest, if you put Charlo in there with Triple G, would I bet my house on Triple G beating him? No, I wouldn't. Of course not. Charlo could be legitimately the best 160-pound fighter. But that's the key. 160-pound fighter. That's a middleweight. If he can make super middleweight, then why is he not fighting David Benavidez? Why is Benavidez fighting David Lemieux? Why? Who's Charlo fighting? For what reason? Again, when it comes to Charlo and Benavidez, the only way that Canelo can fight them is if he agrees to go on the PBC. Because the PBC are not going to allow him to fight Charlo or Benavidez on DAZN. It's not going to happen. He's not going to fight either of them on ESPN. It has to be on a PBC platform, whether it be Fox or Showtime. These are the rules. And it shouldn't be that way. In fact, it's probably illegal what it is that they're doing, which is why when Canelo, he fought Caleb Plant, the fact that they insisted that the fight happens on PBC is actually illegal. It's illegal that they've done that. But if you can get the fighter on side, hey, I'm not going to fight Canelo unless he comes over to this side of the street. That's what they do. But anyway, I just want to give my 2 pence worth. I think that it doesn't matter how you view Canelo Alvarez. Like him, don't like him. You have to rate him. You do. Who else has got a resume like him right now? Who? Nobody does. They don't. And I understand some fans, they want their favourite fighter to fight Canelo. Firstly, it gets their favourite fighter into a big mega fight where the world's going to be watching. There's always going to be a chance that your favourite fighter could get the win, and thus if he does get the win over Canelo, suddenly your favourite fighter becomes a pound for pound talked about fighter. But if it loses, oh, it doesn't matter, it was Canelo. Career can continue. Which is why I think people are not calling for Charlo to go fight Benavidez. His own fans are not calling for him to go fight Benavidez. Because if he loses to Benavidez, it's not as much credit as it would be to be fighting Canelo, is it? It's not. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Of course, you drop me yours. Click thumbs up and, of course, subscribe. And I'll catch you all on the next video.